Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we are going to be going over a quick demo on the publish subscribe design pattern, and we're going to be doing it in Google Cloud Pub Sub. And for this one, we are going to be following one of their quick start guides, which are pretty great for getting you up and running. Now, if you're coming at this fresh, never used Pub Sub before, it is, again, kind of an interesting pattern for managing asynchronous communication between services, between applications, basically any kind of an entity that needs to get or send data. We can use this PubSub to nicely asynchronously manage it. Now, we did touch on PubSub very briefly when we were talking about storage buckets. I gave you some commands to run with PubSub. We didn't really talk about it too much because it's just kind of there as a piece really enabling communications. Here, what we're going to be doing is I've got, again, this is kind of a basic PubSub quick start guide, and it's going to give you a nice little appreciation for how we can build this up in Cloud Console. You could then take this knowledge and apply it to any kind of an asynchronous application. And in terms of cloud services and how this is used, basically we're just going to be getting charged for the telemetry that is sent. So you effectively have a set amount of data that can be transmitted on I believe it's a daily basis. So that's kind of what we're going to be looking at here. So we're going to set up a project, which I already did. We're going to set up a topic and then some subscriptions. Now, what this is going to look like is that we're going to have Google Cloud manage our topics, manage our subscriptions, and then we're going to have some applications run locally talk to Google Cloud. And it's going to basically handle this kind of nice middle layer where if we were doing a proper PubSub type of application using, say, Python or Java, this would basically be like the broker level if you know these, coming from a PubSub background. So let's go ahead and get set up. I already created a project. I will delete it when I am done. This again seems to be the best way to manage our particular applications. I'm going to copy down the project ID. Oh, this one we have a sane one. The last project I had was very bizarrely named. Let's go ahead and save this here. Project ID. Start denoting things a little bit better. All right, now let's go over to PubSub. API is not enabled yet, so it's going to take a second to go ahead and do that. And while that's setting up, what we're going to be creating here is a topic. We're just going to create a hello world topic basically, and it's going to be a poll-based subscription, meaning that any subscribers that want access to this data need to tell PubSub we are ready to receive. We want to see what is new. So let's go ahead and create our topic here. So this is going to be called, what do we call it? Hello topic, topic. Okay, and you actually see the topic name pop up right there. We are going to go ahead and leave everything as default. So that will be created. Now we want to create a subscription to this. And you can actually see that we can actually publish messages directly in Google Cloud as well. But what we want to do is we want to create a subscription. Let's make this a little bit bigger so that we can see things. The menu disappears on you sometimes. So I'm going to click the subscriptions tab and let's create a subscription. Now this ID, let's call it sub1. So subscription 1. The topic we want is our hello topic, the one we just created. It is a poll delivery method, meaning that applications need to access or request access to it. And then we're going to do the same thing for subscription 2. So all of this other information here that I'm kind of skipping over, these are your quality of service types of features. How long should messages be retained? How long does it take for the subscription to expire? Are we handling acknowledgements, and how long should we wait for an acknowledgement? All of that kind of basic stuff, which can give you better, again, a better quality of service. A little bit bigger there. All right, so we have one subscription. Let's go ahead and create another one. Let's call this sub 2. Same topic. Also poll. Leave everything by default. Okay, so now we have topics, we have subscriptions, we are pretty much good to go. Now we need to create a service account so that we can access this thing. So let's go ahead and search for service account, and let's create one. So what this account is going to need is publish permissions and subscribe permissions, meaning that it is allowed to access PubSub and interact with it as usual, usual being what you would do in a PubSub environment. Note it does not need compute engine credentials. It does not need BigQuery credentials. This is an account only doing PubSub stuff. So let's call it PubSub SA. Okay, create. And we want PubSub. I could give it PubSub admin. Let's be a little bit smart this time, and hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me in the behind later on. If I gave this account admin rights, it would have access to do anything, which is not necessarily permissions that you want to hand out to random applications. Okay, so we want publisher and subscriber. So there's publisher. Let's search for, let's type the wrong thing. Oh my God. All right, PubSub SA, create. I probably have one in there already. Pub, not PubSub admin, PubSub publisher. We want PubSub subscriber, which is right here. Continue. We do not need other access, and then we are going to need a key. Okay, which one did I create? It's probably this one here because I already created it once. What roles do we have? Permissions. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cut all of this because I don't know which account is which. Uncut. Okay, so now we need to create a service account. And again, our service account will grant access to whichever applications are tagged with running this. Basically, what we're going to be doing is creating this account, making a key for it. We're going to associate our key with an application, which basically gives that application the rights of whatever the service account has. Now, I'm going to search for pub/sub. It says here just to search for pub, but this is going to cut down on some things. We see the different roles that we can give this service account. I could do admin, meaning this has full access to everything, but you don't want to just hand that out to anybody. So we're going to be very specific with the permissions that we give this account, specifically which roles does it have. So it needs publisher. It also needs subscriber, meaning we can push, we can pull, we can get information, and that's good for the service account. Okay, I deleted some things off screen during that odd little jump, so that's why we got the extra window there. So I have this PubSub-SA account now. And we need a key for this guy. So let's go ahead and create a key. So I click the service account name. This window is a little bit different than what we are seeing currently. Again, things will change, but I just click the account. We're going to go to keys, add a key, create key. We want JSON. It's going to download. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up a terminal. And I am going to go to my root, make a temp directory, go in there. And now I'm going to move this key, which was called Fredericks-680, and then a bunch of stuff. Basically, it gets a unique ID. We're just going to move it to Fredericks-.json. Good enough. All that matters is we know what it is named. So there's my local key here. All right, so we have our key. Good, good, good. You also need to install the Cloud SDK if you have not done so already. We did this in the, which lab was that? It was the Cloud Endpoints lab. So if you do not have this, go ahead and do that now. You can do it for PowerShell or Linux or Mac, whatever you want. Basically, we just need the gcloud command locally. You could do this in the Cloud shell as well, but we're going to try running things on our own machine. Again, it's kind of nice to see how you would actually deploy a real application, not just a pretend one in Cloud shell. So we have that. Now let's go ahead and say gcloud pub/sub topics list. It's probably going to ask me to authenticate. Oh, maybe it's not. Gcloud auth. Gcloud auth login. So I want this account. Okay. I'm now authenticated. Good enough. And what I want to do is, the reason why you're seeing an error here is I just did this in another lab. The project ID that I created no longer exists. So what we have to do is set the current project ID. And you see that here, right? But this is that step that we always skip over in the code labs because it's not relevant. Here it's relevant. gcloud config set project, name of the project, updated core. Now let's try running this command again. Pub subtopics list. There's that thing. And our subscriptions, right? Subscriptions list. And there we go. So we have access to pub/sub from the terminal. Life is good. Now we also need Python 3. If you don't have it, we need to clone down a repository. So basically there's just some boilerplate pub/sub code that we can run. So I'm going to go ahead and get that up and running. And now what we need to do is pop open 3 terminals here. And this is going to be fun on this tiny little monitor that I've got going on here. So terminal 1, terminal 2. So you go here, you go here. Okay. Should have had these open already. Oh my god. No, we'll leave them. Okay, if this doesn't end up working, we'll do some trickery. You have tabs in Windows Terminal now too. I'm gonna try to have everything on screen at once. But we have this environment. Now, let's go inside there. Python 3-m venv hi env-qs. You need to. I don't have Python. Really? Okay. Interesting. I didn't have the Python virtual environment, apparently. I could have swore that I did. What we are doing with a virtual environment, if you have never done it in Python, this allows you to basically sandbox your modules that you're installing, all the packages, and it's not going to impact the rest of your system. Highly recommend it if you are dealing with multiple versions of Python, if you're dealing with multiple packages that you don't want always installed on your machine. So let's take a quick look inside this repository as well, because this is what I cloned down. There's this pyenv-qs. This is a pre-baked virtual environment that we can load up, meaning it probably has references to all the modules that we need. So let's run our script again. I'm running it slightly differently than they show here because I've got multiple versions of Python and I haven't set up my defaults quite as nicely as most people would. So I'm saying specifically use Python 3 for a virtual environment. Okay, now we can source that. Source pyenv-qs bin activate. So we see now that we are in this virtual environment. And we're going to do the same thing in the other 2 environments as well. So this is gcp temp, that, and source pyenv bin activate. Source pyenv qs bin activate. So all of my windows are now in this virtual environment. Okay. Now we need to install the various libraries that we need here. It's just cloud pub/sub. So I'm going to go ahead and run that. And all we need to do is to do it in one of them. because it's just going to pull down the packages that we need into our local virtual environment library. Depending on how long this takes, I may or may not flash in and out. It has installed successfully. What we need to do now is set our application credentials and our project name. So I'm going to do that in this first one up here. So export Google application credentials equals GCP. So basically you just have to point it wherever you put that JSON file that you downloaded at the beginning. Here it's in the root of my home directory and then in GCP temp. Yours is probably different. So we're going to set that. Now we have an environment variable. And we also need our project ID. So we can actually run a gcloud command to get that for us. We should already know what it is. Get value. Interesting. Not a valid identifier. Gcloud config get value project. I'm guessing we're missing some backticks here. There we go. Yeah. So this command it needs backticks surrounding that to work, at least in my version of bash here. So we have that. And now let's go to the tutorial folder. So we are in PubSub. Let's go to samples, snippets, quick start. Okay. In the sub1 terminal, start subscriber 1. Can do. Python sub.py project sub1. So this thing is now waiting for messages. It is listening. So this is sub1. We'll call this one sub2, and this guy down here can be the publisher. I don't think that this is going to work the way it thinks it is. Yeah. So if it were me and I was designing this quick start, I would order this slightly differently because now we have to reset all these project variables. Export project equals that guy. And do we need anything else here? We're also going to need the credentials. So I'm going to go ahead and do something here where basically each of these windows is going to get export project equals that. And we also want our credentials so that they can all log in. So if you're doing this in a setup like I've got, environment variables do not persist across multiple instances. Keep that in mind if you start getting errors saying you don't have authorization or I don't know what project is. So running our subscriber 1. Here, let's kick off our publisher. So Python pub. Oops, I'm in the wrong place. We need to be in, where is it again? Samples, snippets, quick start. Samples, snippets, quick start. Let's do the same thing here. CD samples, snippets, quick start. Now we should be set. So Python pub project hello topic. We published a message. We see sub1 got that message. What has happened here is that publisher sends out hello world to PubSub. It doesn't care who is subscribed to it. We are just sending information to a topic name. Whoever is subscribed to that topic is in charge of receiving it. Okay, now we can start sub2. Python sub project sub2. So now we have 2 listeners. Upon instantly starting, sub2 gets that hello world because that message is stored on Google Cloud's management of PubSub. Again, it would be like a broker type of situation, but whoever is asking for information gets that. It's not automatically deleted, at least by default. We can set things differently. Now let's update pub.py here. Let's let's see what we can do. Oops, I didn't want to do that. I want you to stay big, you to get bigger. All right, let's do this. You go over here. You guys stay frosty there. All right. So we have on the left here our publisher, and we're sending hello world. Okay, hello world. Let's change this to data equals B. Hey there, 680 students. Hope you like pub sub. Save and quit. Now let's run this again in a little bit more of a sane environment. Oops. Let's run this again, not Vim. We want actually Python pub. Okay. Published, published, published. Everybody gets a copy. Use this for your IoT applications. Use this for your various microservices. Use this anywhere where you need to disseminate data amongst various entities and where maybe you're looking for an asynchronous type of message delivery. Anyway, hope you had fun with this. I really like PubSub. I think it's a nifty way of handling data. So have fun with that. Bye, everybody.